So, this is a media mate, and it contains a bunch of 5 1/4 inch discs. There's a lot of classics in here, including Wolfenstein and Beyond Castle Wolfenstein, which inspired us later. And just behind that is the game, Karateka. Love it. It's so good.
I remember seeing Karateka and wanting it, and then not have enough money to buy it. But I think I saved up some money, and I eventually went back and got it. I was sold on the box artwork alone. Kind of told a story. I remember the illustration was really well done. And again, just kind of told a story of what that game was. And yeah, eventually I picked it up and started playing it.
When I first loaded it up, what I expected was something down the lines of Karate Champ or similar head-to-head beat-em-ups. Instead, what I got was a cinematic experience. That's what blew my mind, right? The fact that it started with, a text crawl right out of, which to my mind, that was right out of Star Wars, right? That cinematic experience is the thing that was just amazing, right? It was the most movie-like experience I'd ever had in a video game at that point.
It really felt like, you're a karate hero in a movie. That's fantastic. All the other things feel like bleeps and bloops, and this is like, movie making. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was just very impressed by the fluidity of the animation. And the kicks look great. The punches look great. They were always capped off with a little bit of a sound, a little kia. Yeah, the fluidity of the motion, I think, really set the stage for the rest of what I had consumed about that game.
The animation was cool, and that was very innovative, obviously, at the time. The process and the beginning of animation getting better and better, right? And more cinematic. Taking cues from the movie industry. But I think the storytelling was probably one of the first. I can't think of another game at the time that had that element to it.
The characters were not little sets of pixels. They, in fact, were fully formed individuals. They had personalities. They had strengths and weaknesses. You've got to remember the level of graphics that people were doing at that time, and they were on the sophisticated side for that time.
Karateka was historically a very significant game, and it saw the future before anybody else did. Part of it was because it understood the language of cinema, that visuals mattered, that full motion mattered, that human beings and characters and characterization and storytelling and music mattered in a way that we take for granted now when we see games that are at least as complex as films.
A common knock against a lot of game developers today is that they want to be movie makers. But gosh, you could almost look at Karateka as sort of the original apple from the tree of knowledge there. It was really, in a lot of ways, the first game that put together fluidity of motion, cinematic shots, story arc, twists, filmic language, and pointed the way towards a marriage of film movie style storytelling and gameplay.
you actually got started when you kept going to the local arcade and you kept borrowing quarters to put in the arcade machine to do, what was it? Not Star Wars.
Space Invaders?
No.
Asteroids?
Asteroids. Yeah. You were completely addicted to asteroids. Every day you couldn't wait to go to the arcade to put some more quarters in that machine to play asteroids.
And that was 1980, so by then I was already in high school. That's pretty embarrassing if I was borrowing quarters from you.
From everybody. Yeah. But I gave you the quarters, and then you decided you had to program your own asteroids. Why leave it to the arcade? And you said, I can do this on my computer. You were caricaturing when you were 9 years old.
The caricaturing, yeah.
But you did it because you wanted to use the money to buy an Apple computer.
The way I remember it, I was 12, 13 years old. I was doing the caricatures, I was doing the Cookie magazine, my Mad magazine parody. And really I wanted to do comics and animated films, but this was before computers came along. So I think if the Apple II hadn't been invented when it was, I probably would have just kept on making comics.
Okay, but I remember that you went to those street fairs, to those town fairs, to earn money to buy yourself an Apple computer.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what the money was going to be for, but it was, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, but later on, you were definitely trying to save up I think you needed $900 to buy an Apple computer.
Yeah, $1,200.
$1,200.
That was the price of a 16K
So,
Apple II.
So to translate that into today's money, you can multiply maybe by 6. That's real money.
I know it was all the money I had.
Yeah.
And then even after doing the caricatures,
then you
I
borrowed
didn't
from
have
Emily
that.
to get for the last $100. You borrowed it from Emily. So then you started programming games. So the first one was Asteroids.
Asteroids was actually, I mean, it took a couple of years to get to that point because my first games were in BASIC. You know, there was a game called Breakout on the Apple II. It had colored blocks and you have a kind of a paddle. It's very simple. It's a ball bouncing and you try to knock out the blocks.
Yes, right.
And so I would look at these programs written in BASIC and try to deconstruct how they'd been done.
Mm-hmm.
And IBM had the Thomas J. Watson Research Center Explorers program. Once a week, my friend Adrian would drive me after high school to IBM, and like they would let us kids come in and use the computers after hours. So that's where I first started learning how to program BASIC and APL.
I see.
And then with the Apple, it had BASIC, but it also had machine language, which was more of a mystery. It took longer to learn that.
Yeah, I remember that you did program Asteroids. You worked on that quite a while, and it was so good, such a good replica of Asteroids that a New Jersey company bought it from you. They paid you a lot of money.
Well, maybe, I think it was $400.
That was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, and it was the first money that I'd earned by programming.
Yeah.
And I was keeping track of it.
It was fabulous, and you had a royalty position, and you thought you would make a lot more money from the royalty, but then they got sued, and they had to stop the whole thing because it was too good a replica of Asteroids.
Yeah, that's right. That's almost exactly how it happened. The best-selling Apple game at that time was Space Invaders, and they sold, I don't know how many, but I figured out that if I could do that for Asteroids, that would be my ticket.
Yeah, and you were right. I mean, if they hadn't gotten sued, you would have.
If that'd been a year earlier, right, that was just about the time that Atari kind of figured out what was going on, and they sent threatening letters to all of the new game publishers saying you can't publish copies of our games. And the Asteroids never got
that
published.
was a big letdown.